Hello everybody, welcome along. My name is Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel. Please leave your bias at the door and join me for our dearly departed review for the Premier League round 19 of games. That sounds like halfway. Well, for most of our teams, those that have managed to play each and every round. Who are the dearly departed? Well, I'm a Championship YouTuber and they are the teams that I have covered in the Championship that have found their way to the Premier League and stayed there. We are talking about Sheffield United, Aston Villa, Leeds, Fulham and West Brom. We're going to go through each of their weekend games. There's only 4 this week because of a postponement. So do hang around and check out my thoughts on each of those clubs. It is a big thank you, first of all, to Jay Coyle, dearly departed, also known as Ben. Couldn't bear to lose us. Jay is our fan sponsor of the Dearly Departed series this season. You too can go and get involved supporting the channel, just like Jay has done over at patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Let's get into it. There are our results for the weekend and round 19. Still one game to go tonight, but it doesn't affect us and the Dearly Departed. So we can crack on and get this done. Blue bells next to our games, but I'll read all the results anyway. And a great start to the weekend for the Dearly Departed. Wolves 2, West Brom 3. Let's enjoy that because it's going to get worse now. Some defeats are going to accrue. Leeds 0, Brighton 1. Was our second game. West Ham 1, Burnley 0. Our third game, Fulham 0, Chelsea 1. Another defeat. Leicester 2, Southampton 0. Villa, Everton, well, ends the losing streak for us, only because it was postponed. And then Sheffield United 1, Spurs 3, Blades following up their first win of the season with, sadly, another defeat. Liverpool 0, Manchester United 0, Manchester City 4, Crystal Palace 0. Arsenal versus Newcastle United tonight. So let's just quickly go over this Villa business and just see where that leaves them in terms of games played. So Villa were due to play Everton. It was going to be a Sunday game following the rescheduling of Villa's fixture against Spurs, which was due to be played last night. So this announcement was on the 14th. A significant number of players and staff remain in isolation. I do believe Villa will be back this Saturday against Newcastle. As things stand, I believe that to be the case. Where does that leave them in terms of the table? Well, look, Villa are now 4 games behind Sheffield United, Brighton, Wolves, Palace, who have all made 19. In the main, all the teams above them and immediately around them have played 18. Still 3 games in hand now. And let me rack my brains. That would be Manchester City, Tottenham and Everton. Now, I think I've got that right, are the games in hand. So, look, Villa still well capable of a good high-up finish this season. However, you do now start to worry about fixture pile-up for them and how they're going to cope. You never know, it might have helped them. We might see Ross Barkley back when Villa do return and a fit squad. Or you might see, if they have been affected by COVID, you might see some tired, untrained players who've got to play a lot of games. So we'll see how it pans out for Villa going forward. But we need to get them back on the pitch first. So Aston Villa and Everton was postponed. Next up is Leeds 0, Brighton 1, and a disappointing result. And all of my Leeds friends that I've spoken to, and I'm sure this will be concurred with in the comments, bit of a flat performance from what I've heard from Leeds in this one. They weren't quite themselves, and there's a gap now. They don't play again. I think for there'll be 10 days in between this game against Brighton and the next game Leeds play. And it might just do them some good. Just a little kind of reset from the grind. Maybe in the centre-back area there might be a couple of players returning as well. So bit of a flat feeling. Leeds is always up and down, intense feeling around that club, but particularly at the moment, after that 3 wins in 4 we had recently, even with a 6-2 at Manchester United within that run, we were optimistic. But FA Cup defeat and now this one, there's the Leeds team. Still has the air of being a little bit patched up. No Meslier, so Cressey starts in goal, and I think he did all right after his hapless game at Crawley. Dallas, Ayling, Cooper, Alioski, so still a way off what would be the likely first choice back four, with Ayling at right back and Dallas at left back and Koch or Llorente. Well, however you're going to configure it, it's not the strongest team. And look, no Calvin Phillips either, which never helps when you're trying to play through that deep line playmaker. Struick comes in there. I wonder if Phillips had been about, whether Ayling would have shifted to right back and Struick would have played centre half. So it may even have weakened them at the back as well. But we know Bielsa likes his small squad, don't we? And in this COVID-ridden, fixture-heavy, congested season, injuries playing their part. You have to say, though, the front 5 is the first choice, isn't it? It didn't quite click, though. Harrison, Rodrigo, Click, Rafinha, Bamford up top. Rafinha and Harrison appear, let me know if you watched the game and they switched over during the game, appear to be on opposite wings than normal. For Brighton, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, this has been an issue for Leeds because we saw Leicester and Wolves do this. The 3 at the back, 2 wing backs that can funnel back, and a double pivot that just sits. They've lost home games against teams playing this strategy before, and they've lost this one as well. Sanchez in goal, Webster, Dunk, Burn, March and Veltman are the wing backs, and then the return of Ben White in central midfield with Pascal, Gross, Trossard, McAllister and Mopai are going to be the 3 at the top end who are going to try and catch Leeds on transition up the pitch, as they often are. To their credit and to their downfall sometimes. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. Here's a chance early in the game. Alioski smashes that across the box. Who's that? Rodrigo just can't get in front of... That's Dunk, isn't it? Sliding in there. And here is the goal, and we talk about it. It's Leeds on transition. There's a nice little ball around the corner in the first instance that breaks the lines, and then from then on, drive with the ball, give and go. I think it's Trossard, McAllister. A low cross for Mopai, who can just tap in, but it's that quick counter-attack. One good ball around the corner, one meaningful drive and give and go, and then... Ayling is the dictionary definition of flat-footed there, isn't he? As Mopai runs off the back of him. He doesn't know where to stick or twist when the Brighton assister there, is it McAllister, gets into the box. 1-0 Brighton, and they're going to be able to defend this lead. Nearly went 2 up. Would have been a lucky one, I think. Is that Trossard deflected off Ayling, hits the bar. I think he's trying the same cross that Alioski did and smashing it low, deflects up, catches Cressey out, and would have been an unlucky goal from a Leeds point of view, but close call nonetheless. Again, look, there's Trossard, isn't it? Really clear chance. Can he just drive that low through the crowd? And we've seen them, they look impossible, don't they, when you look at them on a freeze frame like that, but if you get it through the gap, the keeper's just got no time to react. So often they are actually helpful situations, the forest of legs, as they call it. And that is all she wrote in that game. So, look, let's look at the recent form first off. And it's 3 defeats in 5. And that was transitioning from 3 wins in 4. So really, it's a defeat away to Spurs, the Crawley game, which, let's write that off. Let's do Leeds some credit and write that off. And this Brighton defeat. So, really, when you look at it, look, away at Spurs, fine. whatever. That's not Leeds' hill to die on this season away at Spurs. Brighton at home is. They're the games that all of our Leeds subscribers will want Leeds to be winning, or at least not losing, and getting that 3-4 points across the 2 games to finish in the middle of the table. So, Leeds can absorb a defeat against Brighton as it stands because of the 23 points on the board and an 11-point gap down there. They can't absorb too many performances like that against the Burnley, Brighton, Newcastle, Wolves, Palace, etc. And they have now lost to Palace, Wolves and Brighton this season. They have, however, beaten Sheffield United, West Brom, Fulham and Burnley. So they have done well against those bottom sides and they need to continue that. In terms of the game, fairly even numbers, but we all know the game state and we all know that Bielsa does not deviate from possession, getting players up the pitch, forming those rehearsed, strategized moves, and you do get occasions where they don't execute and someone catches them on transition where then they sit in and Leeds don't have the chutzpah to pick apart the low block and the 3-2 and 2, and I assume the wide players funneling back and then it's all of a sudden a 5 and a 4. So these will happen, and really the only way these will stop happening is as Leeds improve and hopefully add more and more high caliber players, they'll be able to pick these defences apart in a similar way Man City winning 4-0 against a stacked Crystal Palace defence last night. So maybe an apples and oranges comparison, but you know what I mean. So a 10-day gap and then a game at Newcastle, who's one of the teams we've just identified that Leeds will want to, stick a flag in the sand and say, no, we're mid-table, we win away at Newcastle. And fingers crossed for Leeds, Meslier, Llorente, Koch, Phillips, whoever will all be back and everything will kind of click. However, it will be another stacked defence there, and quick balls out to Callum Wilson. So I hope to be sitting here with my dearly departed hat, on it goes, talking about a Leeds win at Newcastle, and then that in context then makes us not worry too much about this defeat, fingers crossed. So context is king. Leeds a bit flat. Looking forward to the break and probably some players coming back. Let me know if you agree, disagree down there in the comments. Leeds 0, Brighton 1. On we go to another 0-1 home defeat. Fulham 0, Chelsea 1. I said this in the preview. I'm sure when Frank Lampard was playing for Chelsea, he used to punish Fulham. Certain players just always score against certain teams, like David Nugent against Ipswich, for example. Lampard punishes Fulham as a manager here. And this was the worry I had about Fulham. Yes, improving. Yes, trending upwards. But draw, defeat is all of a sudden 6-7 games without a win. They need wins, don't they? I know, stating the bleeding obvious, but this is the way it rolls if you're draw heavy, which they are at the moment. There's your Fulham team. Areola, Aina, Anderson, Adrabio, Tete and Robinson are the wing-backs. Reed and Lookman wide. Anguissa and the other Reed, so Harrison Reed central, Bobby Reed wide. Ivan Cavallero up the top. Fairly steady for Fulham, only really Loftus-Cheek, who obviously is on loan from Chelsea, who you'd want to throw into that mix, I would have thought. No Mitrovic, no Kearney. The boys of last season, not required. Chelsea there, Mendy, Azpilicueta, Silva, Rudiger, and Chilwell across the back. Kovacic, Jorginho, Mount, Ziyech, Giroud, Pulisic. Just makes me laugh how floral and exotic and expensive these names are over at Chelsea. But it is what it is. That's the Premier League. That's what you're up against with these top-end teams. Off the bar there. That was Mason Mount in the first half, going close. But what you get from Cavaliero in extra legs and a bit of dribbling ability and a bit more mobility than, say, a Mitrovic, the finishing ability is a downgrade, and he kicks this one foot against the other, and he should be scoring there, shouldn't he? Cavaliero from Tetty's pass wide right. Chance not taken. And then, key moment there. I get bored of debating this and reading out the laws. So, serious foul play, if I'm remembering correctly, is excessive force, endangering opponent, and reckless. And I really like Anthony Robinson, but that does clearly meet the criteria. I'm not showing you a moving picture there, but he really throws himself in. And you know, with referees now, VAR, if they go and check, they get double help. If you're going to throw yourself into that challenge with, quote, excessive force, and look, I know every challenge endangers the opponent potentially, doesn't it? But if you then catch the player, you're treading that reckless, excessive force line. You can't catch the player if you throw yourself in. You literally have to be as clean as a whistle now. Take the ball and, well, the ball's irrelevant. Just don't touch the player in any way, shape or form, honestly. So, red card. And that just puts you behind the 8 ball, doesn't it, if you're Fulham. And there is the goal. We were speaking about the shots through the crowd in relation to the Leeds game just 5 minutes back in the show. That's a great finish by Mason Mount, isn't it? Look at the technique. Beautiful. Knee up level with the ball. Body shape and balance. Arms beautiful. And he's going to volley that down. And as I said in the previous example, once that gets past, is Iain 34, I think? Once that gets past him, then it's going to find the gap, isn't it? Especially a bouncing ball where you can't read the trajectory, and he finds the corner. I think it's an excellent finish by Mason Mount, and they huffed and they puffed, and they did eventually blow the house down. Big chance for Timo Werner, who is not having a good time finishing-wise for Chelsea. Any examples of someone who arrived for big money, missed, and then came good? We hope that's the case for Timo Werner, but not going well finishing-wise. Like I said, should have been 2-0. There are the numbers, and obviously the game state is coloured by the red card. 70% possession, 21 shots for Chelsea, 12 corners to 1. However, only 2 big chances to 1, and one of those big chances was Cavaliero, presumably. I'm sure that racked up on SofaScore as a big chance at 0-0. So, and one of Chelsea's big chances was the breakaway for Werner at 1-0 to Chelsea with 10 versus 11. So, fine margins. But I will reiterate my point. Look at that. Defeat at Man City. Draw. Brilliant draws against Liverpool and Spurs in particular, and Southampton, who are a good team. But they will have traded those draws, or one or two of those draws particularly, for a 3-pointer against Brighton or against Newcastle. That's been my issue all along. It's all very well improving. It's all very well finding the team, which Scott Parker has done nicely. It's all very well getting creditable draws against Liverpool and against Spurs. However, Brighton have gone and won at Leeds today. So there goes 3 of your draws up in smoke. 270 minutes, 3 games of football. That's the difference. Literally 3 times the difference. And they need wins. The question is, will the wins come? I have my fingers crossed with my dearly departed hat on, which I always put on at this point. I have my fingers crossed that they can produce the wins. But we are now at the halfway point, and 2 wins in the first 17 games. Okay, Fulham, a couple of games behind halfway, aren't they? And the 12 points. They need to be, I don't know. I mean, even with the 6 draws in there, if that all of a sudden becomes 9 wins, so 7 wins in the remainder of the season, add on 21 points and then a few more draws, you're up towards 30 points then. And we think if Burnley and Brighton continue with their sort of low point scoring, we think 35 might be enough. But a draw-heavy Fulham is not going to get there at the moment. They need some wins. Let me know what you think down there in the comments on Fulham 0, Chelsea 1. On we go, and let's try and enjoy this. A dearly departed winner, only one of the weekend, and it was Wolves 2, West Brom 3. Big Sam looked like the cat who got the cream. You've got to love to see it, haven't you? Winning the Black Country Derby there and getting his first win as Baggy's manager. Well done, Big Sam. A couple of penalties and a throw-in. You've got to love it, haven't you? You've absolutely got to love it. There's the West Brom team. Burton in goal. Johnston suffering with COVID. O'Shea, Ajayi, Bartley and Gibbs across the back. No surprise. Bartley and Gibbs coming back in. One big and experienced, one very experienced in terms of Gibbs. Big Sam will love that, won't he? Sawyers and Livermore again. Livermore, experience. Snodgrass, debut, experience. Pereira, Grzycki, interesting. A start for him. I'm sure Big Sam will love his pace and directness if he can provide that defensive barrier behind him. Callum Robinson up top there, still Carlin Grant. Not around for Wolves. Patricio, Semedo, Bolly returns, Cody Saiz, Dendonka, Neves, Moutinho, Neto, Silva, Traore up the top. And let's get into this straight away. And he did actually call this without the VAR, referee Oliver. That is Bolly on Pereira, and strain your eyes a little bit, but we know, we've been told many times now, that the line of the penalty box is the penalty box. And if your foot is on the line where the foul takes place, it's a penalty. It's a foul, I'm pretty sure about that. And I'm pretty sure that Matt Pereira's in the box by those standards. So penalty to West Brom, sticks it in to Patricio's right-hand side, 1-0. However, Wolves not just going to pen back West Brom. They're going to take the lead before half-time. There's Fabio Silva. And there is Willy Bolly, who conceded the penalty, making amends and scoring up the other end into the second half. And it's a great fight back from the Baggies. And Semi Ajayi has got to be one of the best players for attacking set plays. At Rotherham, he was just sensational there. I remember him scoring like 5 goals in a month for them from like centre-back and deep defensive central midfield. He did it last season as well. I don't know, he must have got 5 or 6 last season for the Baggies in their promotion. And that's a few. It must be 2 or 3 as well this season. Certainly he got the goal against Liverpool, didn't he? And there he is. Beautifully worked set play, throw in, flicked on by Bartley. Ajayi then looping header, and he heads it into the corner. And you've got to watch out for Semi Ajayi. Now, Ajayi and Big Sam, a match made in heaven. They're expecting him to get a couple more goals before the end of the season. And poor from Cody, look at that. I think bang to rights. Would you believe he actually catches both of his feet? He catches his left foot with his left leg and then his right foot with his right leg, and down goes Robinson. And another penalty. I don't know if we'll get any Wolves fans, being as this is dearly departed, but I'd like to see the arguments against the 2 penalties. They look pretty nailed on from what I can see. And that's the Jamie Vardy technique. With frozen Jamie Vardy on penalties, he always ends up in that position, trying to fool the keeper. And indeed he does, into Patricio's left. This side, Pereira, 2 goals, bang, bang, 2 penalties, and Big Sam gets the win. Now, most irritatingly for Allardyce was Leeds losing to Brighton, because the gap stays at 6 points. Obviously, they've closed up on Burnley, but he'll be disappointed with that one, Allardyce. However, he'll be really, really pleased there now. After a couple of really gnarly defeats under his tenure, look, the 3-0 at home to Villa, a 4-0 and a 5-0 at home. They're actually better away from home, haven't they? They've got all their points, 4 points away from home at Wolves and Liverpool. So if they can start scoring points, well, certainly at 2 points per game rate, they'll avoid relegation by a mile, won't they? But they're at 0 points per game at home and leaking goals left and right. So this is what we expected from Allardyce, didn't we? We expected experienced players to go in, players he'd worked for before to come in the window, i.e. Snodgrass, straight away. Classic Allardyce signing. But he gets you the 3-pointers, doesn't he? You have to say that. Whether, and someone asked me this in the chat the other day, is this the one job where he's bitten off more than he can chew? Who knows? Depends a lot on the likes of Burnley and Brighton and Newcastle. They would want one of them to have a horror show for the second half of the season and, not be winning for 8, 9, 10 games so they can try and catch up on them. But they've got the maiden victory. He'll want the clean sheets. He hasn't had any clean sheets yet. That will bug the hell out of Allardyce. I bet if you gave him 0-0 against West Ham and that first clean sheet now, he'd take it over a 3-2 victory. No, of course he wouldn't. But you know what I'm saying, don't you? And if you look at the numbers, yes, 23 shots conceded, 6 on target, 2 big chances. He won't want that every game, the 2 big chances. But we know what he'll try and do. You can see the line of him trying to do it. Let's see how this all pans out for Big Sam and West Brom. But tip of my dearly departed cap to Allardyce and West Brom. Great win. And some smiles for us here on Dearly Departed. Get your thoughts in. It was Wolves 2, West Brom 3. On we go. And the smiles are going to be at the premium again because we're talking about Sheffield United. But let's rejoice in the fact that we had a couple of wins, didn't we? We did Newcastle as the watch along, and I did a review of that. So we have had some enjoyment talking about Sheffield United. They won in the FA Cup as well. But this was my worry, wasn't it? I cited my team Ipswich as an example in 18-19 where, they rubbish, lose, draw, lose. Win a game. Won against Wigan. Didn't win for another month. Win a game. They won against Rotherham. Didn't win for another 6 weeks. This was the worry. That the wins are just fleeting and they're outliers. And the regression to the mean is actually not from losing to winning, but from the one win back down to losing. That's the worry. That's what's happened here. And there are hard games to come up for Sheffield United. I think they've got Manchester United and Liverpool next. Ouch. There is your team for Blades. By the way, it was 3-1 home defeat against Spurs. I guess you saw that on the screen. Ramsdale in goal. Basham, Egan, Ampadu. Bogle. Stevens comes back at wing back. Fleck, Norwood, Lundstrom, McGoldrick, Burke up top. I think just the one change from the win against Newcastle would have been Stevens for Osborne. For Spurs, a bit of a match-up. He goes 3 at the back, Jose, to get some sense of symmetry in this game rather than his normal 4-2-3-1, which means in comes Joe Rodden to play alongside Eric Dyer and Ben Davies. So unfamiliar looking. We normally see Sanchez maybe and Dyer in a 2 centre-backs there, but Davies does give you balance, certainly on the left-hand side. Reguilon and Aurier, who I'm a fan of that full-back partnership. Højbjerg and Dombele, who I'm getting a big fan of now. He's going to play deeper central midfield. Very good player. Speaking of very good players, Bergwijn up top with Harry Kane and Heung-min Son. And it's good luck, Sheffield United, but if you're going to make a load of daft mistakes, it's not often I agree with Roy Keane and don't think he's exaggerating, but he was bang on with the ineptitude of the mistakes here for the Blades was so disappointing after that first win. There's the first goal, and spot the ball. Well, it's heading towards goal because it's literally Heung-min Son, corner, Aurier, near post, standing jump, beach Bogle, heads it in the goal, 4 minutes. What can Chris Wilder do about that? What can he do? And let me know if you think I'm being unfair on Ramsdale in goal, but it really appears this defence does not trust Ramsdale. Ramsdale does not trust himself. He's second-guessing. He's sticking to his line and a decent delivery. And yeah, Bogle, who I like a lot, a bit at fault for not jumping there efficiently enough with Aurier. 1-0. Big chance then not long after, Heung-min Son, with the standards he's set, we expect him to score that. He dinks it. Over it goes. Hits the outside of the post. Here is Harry Kane. And a picture paints 1,000 words, but it only tells half the story. Yes, Kane, brilliant as ever. Edge of the box. He just spies where Ramsdale is. He uses Ramsdale as the marker rather than actually the goal. He knows what he has to do to curve it round him. Ramsdale, is he a bit far from goal, I wonder? Sorry, I realise I'm piling in. Maybe he's not. It's Harry Kane, for goodness sake. It's a good finish. It's not right in the corner, but it doesn't need to be. He just knows how far Ramsdale's reaches and curls it round. But, for goodness sake, this all came from a Sheffield United attacking counter where Reguilon and Son were behind the ball, and they try and make the counter-attack down that side of the pitch, of course. And, it's maddening. It goes into Norwood, gives it away, and from a decent attacking counter, the ball's in their own net within seconds. So frustrating, maddening for Chris Wilder. They get a goal back, however. There's John Fleck, number 4, at the bottom of the picture. Lovely ball in by him. Dave McGoldrick, who's having quite a good season. Bless him. No one, after the injury troubles and being at Ipswich for so long, would begrudge him the couple of seasons he's had at the top level. Enjoy it, Dave. Get that contract, make that money, score those goals. And he's done all right, hasn't he? This may be his Premier League swan song this season, given his age. But he heads in 2-1. But then, straight away, well, within minutes, I think, it's a brilliant goal. Bergwijn scoops it over. And, I mean, we talk about big chances, hard chances. Well, what are the chances of putting that in, a bouncing ball with the outside of the right foot, over the keeper's head, in off the far post? That's exactly what Ndombele does. What a goal. You know, you look at it there and you think, even with the ball on the floor and less pressure from Egan and a fierce, good left footer from the angle there, you think that's a low percentage chance. But with the ball bouncing in the outside of the right foot, such a good goal. Killer. 3-1. And, okay, a bit of quality. But again, they lose possession. I think it was Norwood again in central midfield. You can admire the quality for the second and third goals. But, as I always say, two things can be true. Great finishes, but poor defending at the same time. It's not binary. There are the numbers. And I mean, if you look at the numbers, it looks reasonably tight. But what the numbers don't always tell us, and why should they, frankly, is the game state. And we know that Spurs were up early, weren't they? And then they were 2 up. And they really had Sheffield United at arm's length because Sheffield United were not able to stay within one goal at 2-1. That was the key period for them for long enough. And then, you know, can you bring on Brewster? Can you bring on Sharp? Which is what he wanted to do. But that third goal came too quickly. And we're back to losing again, aren't we? It is 3-6, 7 defeats there in 9. Yes, we love to see the victory there. The W, the green circle against Newcastle. But if you're now going to lose the next 3 or 4, which they might because they're playing Manchester United and Liverpool, then any slim, and they are slim, hopes, they just have to, every game Sheffield United get now against anyone in the bottom half, they have to win. They just have to win. Else it's going to be a promotion and, relegation. And an abject one at that, because at the moment they are at the halfway point and they're on schedule for 10 points. And I get asked every stream I do about the probability of them going against that record. That it's Derby County, isn't it? 11 points. And you'd hate to see it. You'd hate for that to be Chris Wilder's legacy as a Premier League manager at Sheffield United after a brilliant promotion, 100 points in League One, stabilised, another brilliant promotion from the Championship, a brilliant 9th place finish. You don't want the legacy to be a negative points record, even if they get 12, for God's sake. Just don't do it that way, Chris. Don't do it that way. Let's see what transpires, whether any new players come in and injured players coming back. Sander Berger Jack O'Connell, can they get that guy back for God's sake? And can they get some confidence into Aaron Ramsdale in the goal? Get your thoughts in. I know they're probably going to be glass half empty on Sheffield United 1, Spurs 3. That is our show, everybody. Thanks again to Jay Coyle, dearly departed, also known as Ben. Couldn't bear to lose us. Thank you to Jay. Such a great sport, Jay. He's one of our high-end sponsors over on Patreon. You too can sponsor a show on Patreon if you really, really want to support the channel. But for a much lower tier on Patreon, you can get my extra content and you can get my quick predictions, bang, 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 in short form rather than the long stream videos that we do. And just from me to you, an appeal. Obviously, COVID, I can't go to work. I lost my job. Patreon is literally keeping me going at the moment. So if you do enjoy what I do, I'm trying to do it part-time as the world opens back up. But the more Patreons we get, the more subscribers we get, I could even be able to do it full-time, which would be an absolute dream for me. So if you have enjoyed even 1 or 2 of my videos or way more, have a little think about, just $3 a month over on Patreon for the bottom tier, just to support there. The price of a cup of coffee, believe me, makes a huge, huge difference. With our dearly departed hats on, let's put it back on. It's a baseball cap, isn't it? I'm always doing it like that with the peak there. We're going to be back, aren't we, tomorrow with our preview show for... I think we're in such a muddle here because it was round 19 this past weekend. I think we're tidying up round 18 games in this midweek, so we're kind of going backwards, I think. So there'll be a preview show again tomorrow. Thank you everybody for watching. Please hit subscribe, ring the bell, but most importantly, get your comments in and let's make this the best place and frankly probably the only place to have a sensible debate about football where we take our tribal allegiances out of account. We leave our bias at the door and we talk sensibly with less emotion than we see and try and have a sensible, smart, balanced debate, a reasoned debate about football. We're getting there. We do really well. So get your comments in. Let's leave we was robbed and banter and all of this rubbish that you see in the YouTube comments at the door and give me your views. Thank you very much for watching. All that remains for me to do is pull my earphones out and say over and out. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button to see more videos from this channel. Hit the subscribe button and to be notified every time we upload. Ring the bell for those notifications to come through on your device. If you really want to support the channel and me as a content creator, I will be eternally grateful if you head over to the merch store and grab something, or support over on Patreon, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Thank you for your time. Go and watch another video.